Hey, listen, loan officers, we're doing great things at Cap Direct, a broker by brokers for brokers, a fundamentally different way at looking at you doing your business. And you need to think differently because the market we're in today is not the market of yesterday. Learn how to pivot in these markets with what we're doing over at Cap Direct. Just fill out the information down below. Let's have a personal conversation. So I got a question for you. Fannie and Freddie completed 16,483 foreclosure prevention actions this last April, bringing the total to 6,974,367 since the start of conservatorship back in 2008. Now, approximately 39% of these actions have been permanent loan modifications. So here's my question. I've asked this before, but should Fannie and Freddie or even HUD be in the business right now of preventing foreclosures? Let me know down below, because did you know that over 60% of all loan modifications, they default again within just a 3-year period? I mean, as far as underwriting guidelines go, this should be an absolutely unacceptable number, yet we're doing them and we're actually encouraging them. And according to a 2022 report, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency's Mortgage Metrics Report says that 9.3% of modifications completed in the first quarter of 2022 were 60 days or more past due and ended up back in foreclosure less than 6 months later. Meaning these folks are not strategically missing their payments, they simply can't make their payments. I told you last week that the FHA has proposed a new rule for the sale of seriously delinquent FHA loans, and this one's really tricky, guys. The proposal would establish permanent programs selling delinquent loans to bolster the MMI FHA insurance fund. Now, here's the deal with FHA. They've got 5 times, actually over 5 times the congressionally mandated amount of money in that MMI account. FHA should be lowering your MI on all your FHA loans that you're writing today, not thinking about bolstering even more money. No, they're doing the exact opposite, changing their rules so that they can grow even more money in that $14.9 billion fund that they already have.
Why would they do that?
Well, there's really only one reason, and the reason is that FHA, their prognosticators, their economists, who are better than mine and yours, they expect a flood of foreclosures to really take a shot at that MMI account, getting it down below the congressionally mandated amount to where they might be facing a bailout. If they faced a bailout, well, let's just put it this way. No director of any government agency wants that on their resume. So rather than giving that money back, as they should, to bring affordability back to our clients today, no, what they're doing is growing even more money to fight off what they see as absolutely inevitable, a ton of foreclosures. See, the problem is they're trying to prevent foreclosures, you know, this inventory, these sales, these loans, in favor of keeping somebody in a house that has over a 60% chance of redefaulting on that loan once again.
But why?
Well, I mean, it's just insane. I say, let's bring on these foreclosures. Let's chop the arm with an axe, not a butter knife. Yet that's not the case. Part of HUD's proposal requirement would be offering a first look to prospective owner-occupants, nonprofits, and government entities when properties associated with the purchase of these notes are actually sold. HUD would be allowed to continue prioritizing nonprofit and government agencies when awarding these mortgages and these properties to be resold. That means even if when the foreclosures inevitably go through, that property would not hit the market. Rather, it would be given to a nonprofit or a government agency. And then that property and that note would be earmarked to be sold below market value to an underserved or low-income owner-occupant borrower. Now, guys, the dirty truth about that scenario is very simple. When you're selling to low to moderate income families on a lot of these type of loans, the problem is that their default rate is the highest in the country. And what this all stacks up is also pretty simple, meaning we're going to delay foreclosures that will foreclose to sell those defaulted homes to those that default rather than just hitting the open market. Now, I understand why we need to do more to help underserved and low-income families and communities. I'm just asking you this very simple question. Is this the best answer that we have in front of us? I say no. Consider this. We now have more credit card debt than ever. Here's a Federal Reserve graph from St. Louis of credit card delinquency rates as it stands right now. They're going through the roof. That's a canary in the coal mine for housing foreclosures. First goes the credit cards, and then go the mortgages. And worth pointing out is that valley that you see in the middle of this graph is immediately following COVID, when the government wrote a check to absolutely everyone for doing absolutely nothing, and some of those folks decided to pay down their credit cards temporarily. Again, the problem is the march of our credit card debt very shortly thereafter nationally continued to march its way upward, where it continues to this day. Now, this is important because, as you can see from this graph, we now have more non-housing debt than ever. Non-housing debt, which is represented by the red on top of this graph, rose by a whopping $184 billion in the first quarter of this year alone. And again, looking at this graph, as you look at both our housing debt and our non-housing debt, we have a whopping $17.69 trillion, and it's all sitting on shifting sand right now. So do we let it default and work towards solutions, or do we modify and continue to modify, thus continuing the pain we feel today? Now, me personally, I think it's these type of policies that we always find ourselves in. In these situations without progress on what I consider the most pressing and important issue facing this country right now. And yet it's been inexplicably backburnered from all the talking points that we hear from all of our pundits and politicians. You see, if we bite the bullet, a lot's going to happen, and just deal with these foreclosures right now. Affordability would then come back. Massive numbers of loans would be written for both low and moderate income and underserved communities and families, all the while not leaving out the middle class who can't afford to own a house at these prices too. And those that are carrying untenable levels of debt right now, both household and non-household, will have the ability to draw a line in the sand and start the clock to cure their situation so they can responsibly buy a house in the future. In short, if the government simply lets nature do what nature does, this problem is absolutely self-correcting. It's with government interference that we're going to prolong something longer than it needs to be. What are the 8 most dangerous words that you could say? I'm from the government and I'm here to help. I say cut this off right now and let's start working towards a cure. It'd be great for the mortgage and real estate business, but it would also be great for our country. Now, what do you think? I'm very curious. This is a huge issue. Let me know in the comments down below, because I'd like to reach out to some of you who've got some very clear thoughts on this. Thanks a lot, and you guys make it a great day, and I can't wait to see you until Wednesday. Cheers.